Good morning and welcome to this week's Public Affairs program.
Thank you, Past President Ashley, and good afternoon. On behalf of the club, we appreciate you joining us on this special day as we recognize civic achievement in service to this community. Pete wanted to pass along his regret for being unable to attend today's program, but it has been an honor for him to serve as chairman of this year's Civic Award committee. Now, Vice President Ellen Browning will read the purpose of the Rotary Civic Award.
Good afternoon. Throughout history, people have sought to honor those who have made contributions to their communities. And so it is in Evansville. The Rotary Club of Evansville, dedicated in thought and practice to the Rotary International motto of service above self, has fulfilled this duty by creating the Rotary Civic Award, honoring the city's most outstanding citizens since 1927. The purpose of the Rotary Civic Award is to publicly recognize those people who have performed outstanding service for this city. Each honoree is chosen through a process seeking input from every Rotary member. The selection of the Civic Award recipient is guided by the example of our many past award winners, rather than by a set of rigid guidelines. In some years, the award has been presented to more than one person, but usually it's awarded to an individual who has performed incredible civic work for our community. This award can recognize an outstanding definitive contribution, or it may be presented for a lifetime of service. The principles of service above self have been exhibited by each of our past recipients.
There have been generations working to overcome the challenges that faced this year's recipient. Here to give us a brief history of those challenges is Ms. Sandra Matthews, founding member of Our Times newspaper and the leading advocate for justice and equality in race relations. Sandra, will you please come up and for your presentation?
Good afternoon, everybody. I am honored to make this presentation on behalf of Mr. Peter Hildenbrand and also Randy Wheeler. I met Randy Wheeler when I came back home from Milwaukee to Evansville, and he immediately asked me to be a part of his community editorial board at WGBF. And from WGBF, he had recommended that I have my own TV show on Channel 25 called Sandra and Company. And so a lot has gone on. But I would tell you this, and my testimony is that God has been good to me all my life. Even though my dad was murdered when I was 15, I had a mother that was deep in faith, and she was shepherded by Dr. W.R. Brown Sr. of New Hope Baptist Church. She was a Sunday school teacher, and she sung in the choir, and she raised all three of us, my two sisters, Glenda and Claudia here, raised all three of us, and all three of us graduated from college. So we had a strong mama that would overcome. My mom, like many black people, moved from Kentucky, Henderson, Kentucky, to Evansville. My dad came from Tennessee because they wanted to get away from the slave states and come to Indiana. But one of the things my mom wanted was to have a good job, but they were still offering her nothing but housekeeping of white people's houses, and she refused that. But she got another opportunity to be a maid at McCurdy Hotel, which she said she made lots of money because they left lots of tips, that kind of thing. But Mr. Hildenbrand asked me to speak on the journey of black women in politics in Evansville, and he told me I only had 10 minutes to speak. Well, I can tell you this is going to take longer than 10 minutes, but I won't take all your time talking, because we had a lot of great women have come through Evansville, have done remarkable things. I would tell you we start off with a lady named Sally W. Stewart. Back in, you might not know this, but back in the early days, black people weren't allowed to learn to read. In fact, it was a crime to teach black people to read. And so it's one black woman named Sally Stewart. She organized the Indiana Federation of Colored Women, which became a national organization, and she set up the Phyllis Wheatley Club in Evansville, where girls were being taught to read. And that was in 1924, which was 4 years before a school was built for black people in Evansville, which was Lincoln School in 1928. And so you can see that it's been a struggle, because the people who want you to do well won't let you learn to read, and you can't go very far if you don't know how to read. And so one of the women that we have to always speak of is Mrs. Estella Moss. Mrs. Moss is about 96 years old, but I can tell you that she worked hard. She's the first black woman that was head of a ward. She was the 4th ward leader, and she helped a lot of people get elected to office in Evansville. She had a great command of her ward, and she held that position for a very long time. But more than that, she also was the first and the only that I know of a black woman that has been elected to a countywide office. She was elected as the county recorder of deeds for 2 times, and nobody else has done that here in Vanderbilt County. She also helped. She had a partner in this. Her partner was a guy named Joe O'Day. He was State Senator Joe O'Day, and he would help her a lot with things. But she always had command of the 4th ward. I'm gonna tell you that another person that we have to talk about is none other than Connie Robinson. Connie Robinson Blair. I'm gonna tell you that all of these women had important pastors in their lives. Connie Robinson proceeded after James Landers, who came after the first black person to be elected to the 4th ward to the city council, and that was Dr. John Caldwell. And Dr. Caldwell was Connie Robinson's pastor, shepherd, and her mom owned a business in what we call Oakdale. And Reverend Caldwell did a great job of mentoring Connie. Connie Robinson is the only person, black, white, male or female, that served on the city council the longest. She's on the city council for 23 years, and she served as president and treasurer while she was on there. But Connie went further than most people that got that far. Most of the women just listened to their pastors. But Connie did more than that. She married a pastor. she went and married Dwayne Blair, who is pastor of McFarland Baptist Church, one of the oldest Baptist churches in the inner city, which we call Baptist Town. So you have to really think a lot about Connie. 23 years on the city council. It was a long time. And she met a lot of friends and did a lot of work. Also, not elected but appointed, Jacqueline Hall LaGrone became the first black woman to head up the City County Human Relations Commission. And following her, this is the only person who a black woman has been able to follow, Diane Clemens Boyd, who is now the CEO of the City County Human Relations Commission. She's the only other black person that's been able to do that. I would tell you too that we've had a lot of black people in education to go forward, but I talked to Sheila Huff Jackson, who was principal of Bossy before she retired. She said it was hard getting to be the principal of Glenwood School. It was an elementary school before it was a middle school, and she had a lot. She said she had a lot of trouble because there were people who did not believe that a black woman could be strong enough and smart enough to be principal. And she said she had to fight that all the way through to being principal at Bossy. And as far as I know, no other black person has been principal of a high school. Am I right? Joan Finch, out of my church at New Hope. They have been principals of middle schools and elementary schools, but high school seems to be probably, some people think might be off limit, that they might not have enough intelligence. That's always been an issue, that the majority did not think that we were strong enough and smart enough to hold these positions. finally, I would end up with my 10 minutes. On my 10 minutes, there was another person that was very active and successful. Her name was Stephanie Terry, and and Stephanie Terry was the only black woman I know of that served on the county council. She served as 3rd district of the county council, and she has been president I'm executive director of the Children's Museum, and she's gone on to do great things that you all already know about. So we have a long history, but our journey has been backed by our pastors, Reverend Smith and Reverend Robert Saunders, backed up at Stella Moss, Joan Finch and Jackie Neal, and all of them by Dr. Brown, and even when we talk about Stephanie Terry, she's still backed up. She's the only one that didn't have a choice about a pastor giving her advice, because she was getting advice while she was in her mother's womb. Her daddy, Robert Astor's, was pastor at First Baptist Church in Henderson, Kentucky for a long time. And so she didn't have a choice about hearing what the pastor had to say. It was already a part of her life. And I would tell you that if you want to go dive deeper into the history of black people, we have a book called The History of Black People in Evansville by Dallas Sprinkles. You can find it at the Central Library. And also we have This Far by Faith by Dr. Gerald Bigham, professor at the University of Indiana. I think it's right. And so a new one has come out, my friend. It's called Indignation, A History of Politics and Race in Evansville, Indiana, 1870 to 1950, written by my friend Kelly Kors, and it's now out and being sold at all the bookstores in Evansville. So I thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you so much for this great opportunity. Bye-bye. My other assignment was to say the next presenter is Stephanie Terry.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sandra. It is really refreshing and heartwarming to hear the legacy of leadership that we've had in black women. But Ms. Matthews is a part of that. She failed to mention, while she's not been elected, she's a big part of the history of black women leading in our community. And so at this time, I'm not here today to receive the Rotary Civic Award, but to present it. We have a little surprise for you today, Ms. Sandra.
Hey, congratulations, Sandra. I am so glad they selected you for this honor.
This facility that we're in, this African American Museum, would not be here at all if it wasn't for Sandra Matthews. I remember her coming to the Evansville Housing Authority Board telling us that she would like to salvage one of the buildings as a lasting museum to what the black folk, where they lived.
She got a large group of people like Connie Robinson, Lana Burton. There's probably 20 people or so that actually contributed money and time and effort to create this museum that eventually opened in 2007. Mm-hmm. She really put together a good group of people to go after saving and preserving the history here.
If it wasn't for Sandra Matthews, we would not have an African-American mayor.
Oh, I fully believe that. Sandra ran so Stephanie could walk. Or Sandra walked so Stephanie could run. You have to have a model a boldness, untraditional and progressive boldness, to be able to accept it as leadership.
Who would ever thought that a little black girl would be sitting in the mayor's office? And I think, people like Miss Matthews, them being able to see this happen while they're living, and I'm proud to represent not only the black community, but the entire city of Evansville.
She was definitely the editor and owner of Our Times newspaper.
She founded Our Times in 1983. So at the point that she started doing the work with the museum, I would imagine that she was very much involved in just operating that publication. It wasn't until 2022 that the business was sold. So she operated Our Times for about 40 years. Yeah. Her work ethic is amazing. When the A&B Foundation acquired the newspaper, the first step was to just learn how she operated. And so our team met with her a few times, and she walked us through the process of how she had operated her business. And in a time where we utilized technology for a lot of things, Sandra was still doing things the way that she had always done them before, which required, a lot more time and effort. And so I personally had great admiration for just the work that she put into, writing the stories, doing the reporting, doing the editing, making sure that every newspaper Sandra would stamp and put the postage on and put those mail labels on to ensure that the customers got their newspaper.
You got to get the news out as to what goes on in any community. Sandra's mission was to make sure that the individuals in her community were aware of what was happening. She used her media background and the control of a newspaper publicizing what was happening within her community, the African American community.
It was understood that if Miss Matthews is there, that she needed to be right up front in order to capture the best story, the best photos for the newspaper, and those interactions. But then, even as a candidate over the years, Miss Matthews was right there supporting and cheering me on. And so every now and then, I get emails from Miss Matthews with some solid advice and her parting wisdom on me. And I think she expects it to be done. And so that's what I appreciated. She never bites her tongue, but she, does it in such a caring way that that it's coming from a good place.
And so I think a lot is to be said just about her consistency and her willingness to show up, for her community and for the people that are out here working and supporting the community. You can always count on Sandra to be supportive, especially if it's something that is going to be a betterment for the community at large, but also something that's going to empower the African American community.
Relentless, passionate. There was a time when your word was your bond. And Sandra was very passionate about ensuring that people were accountable. There was a lot of pride in this community because this is all we had. Sandra has been a very, passionate person because she believes in what she's done and what she's been doing and what she's still doing. Sandra is still writing letters for the museum, and she still participates in every event that we have. And it's always good to see the founder of the museum at your event, and she supports us in every way. If it wasn't for Sandra, we would not have some of the programs that we continue to have yearly. She's also the founder of the Soul Writers Guild, which does Kwanzaa every year. They just recently had the Dr. John M. Caldwell lecture series. They do book fairs. And so Sandra has been true to herself and true to the community in terms of trying to make this a better place.
She was also very thoughtful that once I'm no longer here, these things should continue.
She is driven by her vision, and if you enlist yourself with her, she will want a similar amount of dedication.
She was very passionate about what she believed. When she saw what she considered a misinformation about her people or a need of her people, she led by exposing that need to the community.
I don't know that I could be the person I am without her influence. When you see things like Our Times newspaper, and it's going into its fifth decade of existence, when you see the African American Museum, those things were part of Sandra's vision. So what would Evansville be? When you see the press for different things in the Fourth Ward for the betterment of the community, when you see the push for more diversity in different aspects of the community, a lot of times it's Sandra's voice or Sandra's influence behind it.
Sandra, congratulations to you. I'm so happy that they're giving you this award, and I also want to thank you because if it wasn't for you, I would not have a job.
The most prestigious award given to anyone in Evansville is the Rotary Civic Award.
Congratulations, Sandra. You are so deserving of this recognition. You have been an amazing leader for this community, a great mentor, and a friend. Thank you for all that you've invested in Evansville and in the people.
Congratulations, Ms. Matthews. We are so excited to celebrate you and all that you have given to the city of Evansville.
The community loves you.
Congratulations, Ms. Sandra. You are the recipient for this year's Rotary Civic Award. As we all know, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream, but you may not know that Sandra Matthews had two dreams of her own. Through years of perseverance, leadership, and unwavering determination, she turned those dreams into reality, leaving a lasting impact on her community and inspiring those who followed. It's hard to say that Ms. Matthews' first dream arrived, but it was probably decades after she grew up in what many Evansville residents refer to as the projects. For her and others, Lincoln Gardens housing development was more than that. It was a home. Sandra and her children in the Baptist-town neighborhood were taught early in their lives that the First Lady of the United States, Eleanor Roosevelt, visited Lincoln Gardens in 1937 and dedicated it as only the second federal housing project built under Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal. For the children who played there and the families who built their lives there, it wasn't just another New Deal program. It was a very big deal. Sandra attended the all-black Lincoln High School across the street from Lincoln Gardens before earning a degree from the University of Evansville in mass communications. After graduation, she moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There, in the early 1970s, she witnessed the realities of the civil rights struggle firsthand when she learned that police had harassed and injured a young NAACP member participating in a demonstration. Sandra noticed that the city's heritage newspapers were not covering the protest march and the injury, and she wrote letters to the editors calling attention to what had happened. Her voice did not go unnoticed. The city's Black-owned newspaper recognized her talent and conviction and hired her as a reporter. In 1975, Sandra returned to Evansville and continued speaking out on matters involving the Black community. She was named as editor of the Evansville Black Coalition's Inner City Reporter and of the Evansville chapter of Black Expo newsletter. Her influence soon extended beyond print. After being invited to provide regular commentary on radio station WGBF on behalf of the Black community, Ms. Matthews became widely known throughout the broader Evansville community for her pointed, thought-provoking editorials. Her leadership and advocacy soon led to her appointment to the Evansville Housing Authority Board of Commissioners and the Inner City Neighborhood Planning Council, where she continued to champion the needs of the community she served. Those experiences helped lead her to fulfilling what could be considered dream number one. In 1983, with business support from her nephew DeMarco Hampton, Ms. Matthews founded Our Times, Evansville's Black-owned newspaper. Together with underwriters and volunteers, they ensured underserved communities were not overlooked and that the accomplishments and contributions of minority groups were recognized and celebrated. From its beginnings, Our Times has served as a strong advocate, speaking out against unfair treatment of the Black community. That commitment to giving voice to overlooked issues extended beyond the pages of the newspaper, especially as Sandra witnessed changes in the neighborhood she once called home. Lincoln Gardens, once the heart of a thriving business community in a close-knit neighborhood, eventually fell on hard times. In 1990, when the city began plans to demolish the 16 buildings, Ms. Matthews formed and led a group dedicated to preserving the legacy of Lincoln Gardens. She wanted future generations, the children and the grandchildren of those who called it home, to know the story of a vibrant community that existed there. After Sandra convinced the Evansville Housing Authority to sell one of the buildings to the group for $1, the organization launched a major capital campaign to preserve and renovate the structure into a 2-story African-American museum that would capture the simple yet powerful character of the small town within a large city. 10 years later, the group helped Ms. Matthews fulfill her second dream. Inside the building, plaques honored hundreds of donors, including many industries that answered Sandra Matthews' call for support. Static and changing displays recognizing the rich history of the Lincoln Gardens and the Baptist Town neighborhood, along with their many contributions to arts, culture, and the business in the region. Through 5 decades of tireless work on behalf of the Evansville's Black community, Sandra Matthews became a trailblazer for women and minorities and helped pave the way for those who followed. As Evansville's first woman mayor and the first African-American mayor, I can proudly say that I stand on the shoulders of Sandra Matthews, and I'm grateful, for the path she helped create. In 2022, Ms. Matthews sold Our Times to the Adrian M. Brooks Senior Foundation, but she still keeps her finger on the pulse of this community and stays in touch with the newspaper editor, occasionally strongly suggesting strong story ideas. She also continues publishing the annual Tri-City Buyer's Guide to Black-owned businesses, churches, and organizations. A self-described agent for change, Ms. Matthews remains a sought-after speaker and panelist, offering her perspectives on the city she helped usher across the threshold from the 20th to the 21st century. To Sandra Matthews, a fearless leader who was able to turn big dreams into a lasting legacy of service to Evansville's minority community and the city as a whole, and whose vision led to the founding of Our Times newspaper and the Evansville African American Museum, we proudly bestow the highest recognition, the Rotary Club of Evansville Civic Award.
Now I know why they gave me 10 minutes. But I tell you, all of my friends and family kept a secret. I did not know this was happening.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Public Affairs program. From all of us from Midwest Communications in Evansville, Indiana, have a great week.